Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you're having a fantastic day. In this video, I'd like to share a post-burn review of Kringle Reserve Holiday Roast. This is actually one of 4 new fragrances that is launching in the Kringle Reserve line for holiday 2025. I have already reviewed 2 of the fragrances, so if you're curious about what I thought of the either Jolly Gingerbread or Enchanted Winter fragrances, I will put links to those videos in the description box below this one here. If you are curious about the Candy Cane Martini fragrance, that is actually the second candle review that is going live here on my channel a little bit later on today. So if you are not subscribed already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you will be notified of all of my future uploads. Anyway, if you're interested in picking these candles up, I'll put a link to where to shop with Kringle at the top of the description box. You can use my discount code Melanie15 at checkout to save yourself 15% off. Or if you have some rewards, you can also apply those. So anyway, I'm really excited to share this review with you. I don't think that this particular coffee fragrance is going to be for everybody. So if you are interested in this particular fragrance, definitely make sure you stay tuned here for the remainder of the video, because this is definitely not going to be the coffee scent for everybody. I am actually going to be very curious what those of you who pick this one up ultimately end up thinking about it. It's a very interesting fragrance. I actually have been enjoying it quite a bit. I've been burning this alongside a fragrance from Sniff called Mornings at Levant. And actually those 2 fragrances are a really good match for each other. So if you happen to have both on hand, I would definitely recommend that pairing. But this one just in and of itself is a very, very interesting coffee fragrance. Definitely one like I've never smelled before. So let's go ahead and get into all of the ins and outs of this very unique and interesting coffee scent. If you are newer to my post-burn candle reviews, I typically like to read through the scent stories that most home fragrance companies will provide for their different fragrances in their line. I find that sometimes that is almost a little bit more helpful for me to understand what a fragrance is going to smell like versus just reading, you know, like the fragrance notes, the top, middle, and base notes. But because these candles haven't launched on the Kringle website quite yet, I don't have the cute little story. However, I do have the top, middle, and base notes. So I'm going to start by reading through those. I will then tell you what I smell in this very, very interesting coffee scent. And then we'll get into the overall strength and throw. And then lastly, we will finish up with the burn quality. So let's read through the notes of this one. At the top, we have espresso and cocoa bean. And this is where it starts to get weird with this one. But the mid notes are wood and tobacco. And then at the base, we have musk, leather, and spice. I told you, it's a little bit of a strange one. Here's the thing though. I feel like this one works. I don't know why it works. It's not going to be the coffee scent for everybody. Let me just say that right now. If this one totally grosses you out, just hearing the notes, you're gonna be one of those people that's gonna wanna skip this. But if you're willing to take a chance on something that is just really interesting and unique, and honestly, to me, very likable, this would be one of those like take a chance candles, I feel like. But again, if you immediately see any of these notes and you're like hard pass, just pass on it. I obviously don't want anyone to be, you know, disappointed, but I think this is really interesting. So let's start at the top. Do I smell espresso? I do. I smell a really nice dark roast, like deep dark espresso note in here. It's not a lot of creaminess with this one. It's more of like a straightforward espresso. Coffee, sorry, not coffee, cocoa bean. Do I smell cocoa bean? I wouldn't say cocoa bean. I feel like I smell like there is a dusting of unsweetened cocoa powder in here. And I actually really kind of like that. It reminds me a little bit of the espresso bar from Bath and Body Works from back in the day. The two fragrances are like, other than the like espresso and like cocoa / chocolate combo, that's kind of where the comparison stops there. So don't think that this smells exactly like Bath and Body Works espresso bar, because it definitely does not. But specifically the espresso and that cocoa note, those smell somewhat familiar in this particular scent. Let's get into the mid and the base notes, because this is where I think we're probably going to lose a lot of people. And it's a bummer, because even though this doesn't sound like it would work at all, it does. It really does, you guys. Okay, wood. Do I smell any wood in here? I actually really don't. Not post-burn at all. I keep kind of sticking my nose, you know, over the candle, thinking like, oh, maybe the wood is hiding in there somewhere. I don't smell it. I don't get any oak. I don't get any mahogany, no sandalwood, driftwood. There's no woodiness here at all. I just don't smell it. But the tobacco. So tobacco is actually I think there's a perfume called tobacco, but there's also a tobacco note, if you will. And the tobacco note that is used either in personal fragrance or home fragrance is basically a mix of like a tobacco leaf, vanilla, and spice. Like that's kind of the combination for the tobacco fragrance note, if you will. And you smell some sweet pipe tobacco in here. Again, I think we're gonna lose some people with that tobacco note, but I don't know. It's almost like Santa is, you know, smoking his happy little pipe and enjoying a cup of coffee. That's really what I feel like the experience of this candle here is. Again, the tobacco may throw a lot of people off. And if that is you, if you just don't like that tobacco note, be it sweet or otherwise, and this is very sweet to my nose, I would say skip this one altogether, because it is quite prominent in here. But it's a really interesting part of the fragrance, and something that I think if they had left it out, I don't know that I would enjoy this one quite as much, which is so interesting to me. So yes, there is a tobacco note in here. I smell it. Now at the base, we have musk, leather, and spice. I don't think there is an excessive amount of spice in here. I think, in fact, the majority of the spice, if you will, is coming from that tobacco note, not necessarily the addition of extra cinnamon or like nutmeg or cardamom or anything like that. The leather note, I do smell a lighter white leather note in here. It's not a deep, heavy, like mahogany leather at all, but it definitely is a leather note. I'm trying to remember what other fragrance Kringle had recently. Was it Father Christmas or Saint Nick? I can't remember now for the life of me. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of a brain fart, but there was another holiday fragrance that Kringle came out with that had a white leather note that was really lovely. And I feel like I smell that same white leather note in this one. But yeah, listen, this sounds like just a hodgepodge of random notes, and really it is. But for whatever reason, this just kind of works. It doesn't kind of work, it definitely works. I really like this one, and I did not know what to expect. I did see the fragrance notes prior to receiving the candles, and I'll admit, when I first saw these notes, all I could think was, what is this going to smell like? There's no way. But surprisingly, it's really pleasant. I love this one alongside Mornings at Levant. Honestly, that particular combination, you have to try it. If you happen to have both of these candles just randomly, do pair them together. It really does create like an interesting like bakery coffee shop, but like at the North Pole, you know, like at Santa's workshop, like that type of experience. It's so interesting. Listen, I like this one. Is it one that I think is going to sell out? No. Will I repurchase it in the future? I think I might. I think this is gonna be a fun one to have around at Christmas. So I've burned it to just about the halfway point now. And I think I'm gonna save the rest of this one at this point for December, because I think it would be a fun one to burn on Christmas Eve, Christmas morning. Again, especially alongside the mornings at Levon. I just think that that would be a really nice like Christmas morning combo. So we might be doing that over here. So for me, the fragrance is definitely at least one thumb up. You know, it has to be like a jelly donut or a, you know, sweet cream or sprinkled macarons situation for me to give it like 2 thumbs up. But this, it's a solid, I really enjoy this type of fragrance. It's not one that I feel like I need to hoard, but it is interesting, and I am gonna burn it for Christmas this year. So yeah, I like it. But do I think everyone's going to? Absolutely not. Think long and hard about this one and these fragrance notes that I mentioned before spending money on it, because like I said, I don't think this is gonna be everybody's coffee fragrance. Strength and throw. This has a solid medium strength and throw. It never really got much above a 7 in terms of strength, and it's been a consistent 7 from the beginning to this halfway point now. So it's a solid performer. The throw I would also put probably at about a 7. Does it fill the immediate area where I'm burning it? Absolutely. Does it travel to fill most of the downstairs? Yeah, it does. It's strong enough for me to have to be mindful about what else I'm burning alongside, but it is it's a pleasant experience. It's not overwhiming. This is not one that I would want in a 4-wick because it is such a kind of unique scent. The 4 wicks, I really only want 4 wicks in the fragrances that like totally rock my world and that I do potentially want to be house fillers. I like how this one is one that I kind of feel like I like pairing with other candles. So yeah, around the holidays, I'll try to pair it with a few other things here and there. I think I've also burned it alongside the Kringle cupcake from the regular holiday lineup. That was actually a really nice addition to this one. It almost gave it a little bit more of like a latte kind of vibe versus just a more straightforward espresso. But yeah, so good strength and throw here. Burn quality was fine. No issues with this one, other than needing to pretty aggressively trim the wicks between each burn. This one does seem to form some bigger mushroom tops. I have let it go for usually about 5 hours at a time, and by the time that I reach that 5-hour mark, it does have some pretty heavy like carbon balls that are hanging on at the top. So I just trim those up before subsequent burns and I'm good to go. But there has been no discoloration of the wax. There has been no sooting. There's been no outrageous flames or anything like that. I'll give you guys the usual overhead shot here so you can see how things are going. But it's a super pleasant burn. And as you can see, we're definitely at the halfway point. Like this one is, yeah, at this point, I want to save what I have left for a little bit closer to Christmas. So I'm going to put this one away for a little while. But if you're willing to take a chance on it, I think it is one that it's definitely going to be, you know, a conversation starter, especially if, you know, you start telling people what the notes are. Because they might smell it and at first think like, what is going on here? This is interesting. So yeah, it's one of those good like conversation candles for sure. So, and if you know anyone that really is into maybe like slightly more obscure fragrances, this is one of those obscure fragrances that I think would be totally worthwhile gifting. So anyway, for what it's worth, those are my thoughts. Like I said, stay tuned for my review of Candy Cane Martini. That'll be up a little bit later on today. So if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. If you found this video helpful, please give it a big old thumbs up. Share it with anyone you think might be interested. I really appreciate you guys being here, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.